So I don't think I've really felt this way since season one, but oh my god, the most recent episode of How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, which was episode number 19, Strike While the Iron is Hot, I felt was so incredibly short. Like, I must have just been so absolutely absorbed by this episode that I felt like it was over in an instant. I felt like the moment that we're about to move on to like the next thing, the episode just ended, right? Like, so the episode ends with Lou Ludwig, I think his name's Ludwig, right? And he is apologizing for his fiance, and it gets revealed that at some point she stole dragon bones. And Soma probably won't take it as a serious offense as the holistic kingdom does, because to him, he's probably like, yeah, that makes sense. If the dragon's dead, yeah, go ahead for it. You know what I mean? Like, if you have to kill an animal for research purposes, the unfortunate thing is in our world, right, in the world that he comes from, whatever variation of time he came from, but he came from some type of our world, right? Whether it was 2038 or 1992, he came from some variation of what our world is, right? And the unfortunate thing is animal experimentation, basically anything, even some have dabbled in human experimentation, but for the most part, all of that stuff is pretty par for course, right? Like if someone invents a makeup, they put it on a chimpanzee or something just to make sure the chimp's face explodes or something. But it's just kind of par for the course. And the dragon, in this world is just another animal. So I'm assuming that all will be forgiven for everything. But like as soon as that moment happened, this episode, and it just cut off. I was like, oh my god, no, I want more. What's gonna happen next? She just created a Dyson fan, but a huge Dyson fan. Like I want more. But I haven't felt that way in a long time. Like this episode felt 10 minutes, and I checked too. I was like, oh crap, it was 23 minutes. And I just thought that was so cool because, like I was saying, I haven't had that feeling for this specific anime since season one, to where I was like, oh my god, that episode was so short. Now, with all that being said, this episode there was a few key factors that surrounded it, and I guess why I was so absorbed is we got introduced to a scientist. They call her a mad scientist, but really this lady, this girl, I think her name is Genia. She's genius, Genia. Her name's Genia, and she comes from a long line of people, the Maxwell family, who have been inventors and scientists and people who have worked in that capacity for the kingdom. And we find out in this episode that she has a lot of different inventions, and she's very open-minded, and she's exactly what Souma needs. She also works out of a garage, and some other things happen. But she's exactly what Souma needs. She's going to be a pillar for the kingdom because her inventions, although to the normal people of the world seem outlandish and impossible and dumb and stupid, but to Souma, who comes from, again, our world, she basically invented a way to have batteries, which is going to invent a way to produce potential energy. So they're so reliant on magic in this world that if he can produce things not based on magic, then it's basically like going from sticks and stones into the steam industry, right? Into the steam era. And it's from the steam era to electricity era, like from the electricity era to the, it's a huge jump, a huge societal jump. And I thought that was just really intriguing. And, Souma immediately began thinking like, if we can do this, we can, I can think of cars and buildings and electricity and plants, and like there's so like his first thought was this would immediately put our nation to be like the most like the powerhouse of the world. Then he had an emotional flip, because the flip side of that is how every other country would view that. They would want to steal this information. They would want to get a part of this. They want to get a piece of the pie. And he's sitting on these mines of this specific ore that would power all of this, and the corruption. And, he has to be very... Somebody's got to invent these things first. That's always how it is, right? And there's always a risk with that. So just like he told Lisha, it's a high-risk, high-reward scenario. So they have to they're going to have to navigate this very, very carefully. And I think he has a good surrounding cast of people to help navigate this. And he has a good relationship with the Empire already, so there's a few moving pieces there, but he has to be very careful on how he can't just go from 0 to 100. He has to be very meticulous and very careful on how he grabs this person and uses her as a pillar for what can come next. So I think that was all extremely interesting. Now, a way that he was able to do that was to force, well, not force necessarily, but to bring it up to the table for, okay, she needs to be a pillar. She needs to have a connection to me. She needs to be important. So then he looks at Lou or Ludwig or whatever, and he's like, you like her? You like her a lot? You love her a long time? Good. I need you to marry her. And that would allow her to have some visibility, royalness, nobility, so that way she can have that connection with the king and they could begin working on these things. So again, I think this episode was incredibly interesting. I think it was incredibly eye-opening for Souma. She is obviously leaps and bounds ahead of anything else that's being produced in the kingdom, or it seems like the world so far. And I love how she created something, like, immediately, the way that if they can find a way to travel that doesn't use monsters, dragons, that's incredibly powerful already. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. This episode was really, really good. Really, really interesting. Really, really short. And I cannot wait to see more as we truck through the second core of this season. I love how they just talked this whole episode, and I was just completely and utterly absorbed by this anime. I love this anime so much. It's so good. And I always just want more, and I really appreciate that. All right, I'm going to leave you guys with those thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Let me know what you guys think about Genia. I think she's a really cute character as well. But let me know what you think about her, and comment down in the comments below. Leave me a like before you leave, and I'll see you guys next week for the next episode of How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom.